for Charity Winter Tournament 2015. We've already had three great, very exciting matches for you today, and we're going to be finishing off with, in my opinion, the most exciting yet, Firebat versus Dog. Now, everyone knows Firebat as the World Championship Hearthstone player. He won BlizzCon. He's a great deck builder, but not as many people know of Dog. He's kind of an up-and-comer. He's been getting really great numbers on his stream, and he explains all his plays very well on his stream. And he's very known for playing Druid, although he's definitely not limited to that class. He's gotten rank 1 on Legend with Druid multiple times, but he's also gotten rank 1 with Handlock. He's gotten very high ranks with Shaman. And in fact, Shaman's one of the decks that he's going to be bringing today, and one of the decks that he's been playing a lot on stream, getting it to number 4 yesterday Legend on the European server.
Yeah, I remember early in GVG, he came up with some kind of rogue deck that was Miracle-ish in nature and also played Dr. Boom and Rag. But he was still, sticking to the Gadgets and Auctioneers. So there was a bit of a flashback there when I saw those cards, because I was a little amused by it. And it turned out to be it was pretty close to what people are now calling, the standard rogue deck that we have nowadays with like Tinker, Sharpsword, Oil, and just the minion, a mix of minion base and spell based rogue, which was actually really interesting. But now that's kind of phased out, and I think he opted to... He brought a rogue, actually, but I don't know what deck it is specifically.
Yeah, just the game's going to be starting very soon, so I'm just going to recap the classes and bands. Dog will be bringing Mage, Druid, Shaman, and Rogue, and I think Firebat has kind of respect banned Dog's Druid. Dog, very known for Druid, so he won't be able to play it for this round at least. So Dog will have Mage, Shaman, and Rogue left. While Firebat, he has brought Hunter, Druid, Mage, and Paladin, and his Mage has been banned. Mage is a class that just has so many different options, and Dog just doesn't want to deal with those options right now. So the first matchup, it's Shaman versus Druid.
Wow, okay. So Druid right off the bat here for Firebat. Attempting to sweep? I don't know, that's a pretty rough start. That's a pretty heavy start. Would you start with... I would generally start with Hunter on the off chance that I can just generally win against most classes. I mean, it's usually a pretty okay matchup against Mage. Well, it's also not that bad against Rogue. But the lineup of Firebat is also pretty versatile, so I mean, even losing Mage is not that big of a deal. He's got pretty much all the angles covered.
Yeah, to each his own, I guess. And I have to point out, Firebat, his webcam has been a little iffy lately, so we're going to see... I guess a 14-year-old version of him, his school pick.
He probably picked this picture himself and was asked which one to give. And he said, you know what, take this. This is Firebat in a nutshell. You just gotta love. Just gotta love him.
Like Firebat, he looks so much older in real life. I've seen pictures of him and I'm like, oh, this kid's like 13, 14 years old, right? But in reality, he's much older than... He's 19, but he doesn't seem that way. And he seems, when you meet him in real life, he actually seems older than 19. He's kind of mature in some ways.
Yeah, no, he definitely does not... no matter where you see him, he looks a different age. Online, you'll listen to him, he'll sound different. Oh, wow. No. Okay, no, against Shaman, you don't do that.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, even if you can have the 9 mana, it's still not viable. But that was still very tempting from my perspective. All right. Definitely. I mean, who doesn't like a Dr. Boom on turn 3? Yeah, so these two hands here are actually pretty good for both players.
This is actually a very interesting pick from Dog, from Firebat, that is. Harvest Golem's not a card that we typically see in Druid these days, but it's actually very good against Shaman. I guess the thing is, Shaman is a deck that it always wants board control, and Paladin is a class that always wants board control. And these two classes combined are somewhat popular, so Harvest Golem is a good choice against those decks that really try to fight for board control all the time.
Yeah, and that's the reason probably why Firebat didn't even think twice about picking his deck as soon as he... You
see the Innervate options for Firebat right now.
Ancient of Lore is actually a really, really important card in this specific circumstance, because it's going to allow... I mean, you can afford playing Innervates if you're going to get card draw. I'm actually surprised. I don't know. Is swipe a play you would consider here? You ping the spiders and you swipe the 4-1, the 2-4.
I think it's possible, but this is just so strong. Firebat's actually going to face. He didn't trade the piloted shredder into the Gnomish Inventor, even though that would have been such a great play. Dog was kind of counting on that and he was thinking, oh, if he does that, then I'll Earth Shock in return, and it'll be great. But this way, Firebat forces Dog to make that trade, and it's not going to be that great for him.
Yeah, I mean, he can coin out a lot of options, but the overload follow-ups are not going to be good. The thing is, without Innervate, Firebat also doesn't have a follow-up, assuming the board gets wiped in any way. Like, a Hex Lightning Storm is semi-interesting here. But there are, honestly, this board from Firebat is just excruciating to look at. I mean, you have to start somewhere, but where exactly? Do you...
Dog is definitely shaking his head right now. He's like, oh, so many
lines of
options.
Play, yeah. But
there's actually
Flame Tongue Totem, Lightning Storm, coin Earthshock on something is... Wow, he's trying for the...
Spell power. He doesn't get it.
Okay. I thought he was gonna go, sorry, for the Flame Tongue Totem between the Gnomish Inventor and the Spider.
Yeah, this is a perfect board for Flame Tongue, but Dog just doesn't feel like he can use it right now, unfortunately.
What he's doing right now also plays pretty well around Swipe, if you think about it.
Yeah, this plays around Swipe, like, really well. And good thing he played around it, because there's 2 swipes in Firebat's hand.
Oh, wow. That's a really, really nice play here from Dog. And Firebat's options are very passive in a way. I mean, he could double swipe to wipe the entire board, but, I mean, how good do you feel about it? I mean,
yeah, Dog played around swipe, but did he play around double swipe is the real question.
Can you even play around double swipe?
Not with his particular board, I guess.
Yeah, not really. And the thing is, by swiping face, if Firebat decides to go, for instance, a single swipe on the high health Spider and then swipe face, that wipes the board completely, and that puts a lot of damage on Dog's face, and then he can follow up with Ancient of Lore for card draw. And if he does run combo, then that's going to be especially interesting.
I guess the play is going to be double swipe.
It's even more aggressive than I thought. He's going for double swipe to face, or wait.
Yeah, I think it's going to be double swipe to face.
There it is. This is actually even stronger, but...
This Dog's like, his reaction is exactly, I can't believe he had 2 of those.
Yeah, and now what do? Do you Bolt Storm and hope he doesn't have combo in hand for the next few turns? I mean, the Ancient of Lore follow-up is just flawless here. I don't think there's a better follow-up than that.
Yeah, on turn 7, what else could you... Like, you've already played your Dr. Boom. What else could you want?
Yeah, there's no hand. Like, you have no hand. All you've got is this, so... It does feel like a perfect time. Oh,
There's the force of nature.
Oh, one step at a time, right? Firebat, no-brainer, Ancient of Lore.
Ancient of Lore, go to face, deal some more damage, win the game.
Then get Savage Roar, win the game. He's playing double combo. Whoa.
Undertaker.
What? That's awesome.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah, I like it.
He runs Undertaker, he runs Harvest Golem.
Yep.
I'm betting he runs something like Loot Hoarder to curve out. And also probably Sludge Belcher in place of Druid of the Claw for what you normally see.
Yeah, if he's running the Undertakers, that's the most sensible approach.
Yeah, so you could potentially have Death Rattles at every single mana. You have at 2 you have the Loot Hoarder, 3 you have Harvest Golem, 4 you have Piloted Shredder, 5 you have you could have the Sludge Belcher, 6 you could possibly have either probably Piloted Sky Golem, and then at 7 you have the Dr. Boom, of course.
Yeah. So here's the awkward thing. Like the boom bot exploded and hit Dog's face for 2 damage. This is not the most dangerous damage output, but it's just enough that between 2 turns, like Force of Nature is going to do it on its own. Even through Defensive Argus, now that Sylvanas was top decked.
Sylvanas, pretty good play.
Yeah, I mean you can rat the 1/3 if you want to, but to avoid a Defensive Argus, that's going to be 4 damage. But you're forcing your opponent to have a Hex, so you could just go face here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is fine because
he wins on the back of just Force of Nature alone next turn.
And you could also play around possible feral spirits. Like if your opponent had feral spirits next turn, you could use Wrath to kill one of them
To
off.
kill one of them, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas if your opponent has Argus, then your opponent's always going to have 2 targets anyway. It doesn't matter.
Is there a way to actually recover from this specific board state? Because he needs to taunt up, otherwise he's dead. So in order to taunt up, he'd have to play to keep either. Well, he can't even keep 1 million alive. He'd have to trade both of them away. So he needs to attack with one, rock bite the other, and then totem up and defend of Argus for 1 taunt.
Not looking ideal. I mean, he can he can clear the Sylvanas, and I think that's what he's going to do. But if he clears the Sylvanas, there's no way for him to taunt anything up.
Yeah, that's the problem. He's got no follow-up, nothing. He has to play this like alone with his Stoneclaw. Hope for Stoneclaw, and if he doesn't get it, he's pretty much dead.
Not Stoneclaw. He was mousing over the Flame Tongue to play it in case he got the Stoneclaw as well. And there's Force of Nature.
Yep, the well played here, Force of Nature, again taking games from people. So this was a really aggressive Druid. I mean, the second swipe, I think, was really important to work out because only one, Dog played really well against only 1 swipe, but the second swipe was just the nail in the coffin there.
Yeah, I think Firebat played really well this game too. He went swipe both to face. It's not a play many people would make, but Firebat realized that even though he expended his entire hand, almost his entire hand, he still had the Ancient of Lore follow up the next turn.
Yeah, so he still had he had to put a lot of pressure on the Shaman and hope no anti-kill bot would come out, and even if it did, it would leave the Ancient of Lore most of the time into play for an extra 5 damage, which would mitigate its usefulness. So over the long term, he played right. I didn't think double swipe to face. I didn't really think of the play at all. I saw multiple ways to use swipe and wipe the board completely, but surrendering the 4 damage from the Shredder to use the 4 damage from swipe was not one of them.
I think the key to that game was that Dog never got use out of his Flame Tongue totem, and that's one of the ways you can kind of get ahead of the Druid, using a Flame Tongue totem to buff multiple things, like 3 creatures in the same turn, kill off your opponent's board.
Yeah.
And even though Dog had a lot of creatures on many turns, he'd had to use his other cards in order to deal with threats such as Dr. Boom or the Piloted Shredder, and he just never got value of that Flame Tongue.
Yeah, and the Innervates also, Dr. Boom on turn 5, that's nothing to scoff at. Like, how do you deal with... It's fine, you can hex the 7/7, but how do you deal with the boom bots effectively afterwards, right? Because you need your totems on the board, and if the boom bots explode, you're going to lose those, at least likely. And if it hits your face, you're not nearly ahead either. So there's very, very few ways for the Shaman in this circumstance to be, to come out ahead positively. It's kind of like dealing with Undertaker when you don't have Fiery War Axe, and there's no way to trade, positively for it.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Boom, really threatening.
Next match, Dog is going to pick the Rogue. I think it's a pretty good